dads in here trying to cause a riot. Hey, get out of here. Come on. Out. Whoa. Whoa. All right.
All right. I guess I'll share my screen, although it seems kind of pointless because you've seen all of this already.
Yeah.
But I think what we should do is talk about the deck list first, because I think that makes the most sense. If I can find it. Where did I put it? My strategy? Oh, yeah. Oh, that is the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. All right, here we got a Moon Stompy deck, updated for, I guess, March 10th, 2024. Okay, so Moon Stompy, tell me about it again.
I'm getting an echo. I don't know if that's on my end or yours.
Sounds
I'm hearing
like
everything
it's
that
you.
I'm saying back to me.
One sec.
I feel like it's my fault.
It looks like it's gone now. Did you have the stream open?
Hello? I can
Yeah.
still hear myself. Hang on, maybe it's this. Trying again? Okay, I think I had my audio on the video thing.
Oh yeah, I said. Yeah, you basically have to disable that, otherwise it does echo.
Okay, cool. Problem solved. All right, back to Moon Stompy. So this is actually pretty similar to the list I was playing at like Eternal Weekend two months ago at this point, 3 months ago. The big notable difference is that we've just gone up to 4 hearses because hearse is just really busted right now.
Yep.
And then there have been a couple of sideboard adjustments for the meta.
Well, also new cards on MTGO / I guess you always had access to the Scarab Swarm, but now you've played with it enough to be confident that it's good in a deck like this, I guess, is the other thing, right?
I don't even know if it's that good. It's been like decent enough and like a pretty broad role player across a lot of matchups that I've liked having it, especially as like the 5th effect. I know some people played my list at Eternal Weekend and were not happy with the Scarab Swarms of the 4th hearse, but you know, when you can't play 5 hearses, maybe it's a little bit better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Obviously, Unlicensed Hearse makes a lot of sense because of I would say the rise of Scaminator as a deck. It's kind of weird. It feels like the last few weeks it's really been rising in popularity, like, to a huge amount. I don't think I've ever seen a deck really do this. Well,
yeah.
I guess Underworld Breach kind of did. So maybe that's a bad comparison because that deck is kind of broken as well, but...
It has felt. I guess we're still in like the short term of it, but it has definitely felt like the scam deck, reanimator deck, whatever you want to call it, is a lot more exploitable. Like it's not tier 0 unbeatable, but it has like picked up really rapidly in popularity, which is very uncommon. But I do think that it has some weaknesses, like playing 4 Chalice, 4 Hearse, Ancient Tomb decks. I know like a lot of the Elvish Reclaimer strategies have been finding purchase. I've been seeing a lot of like green-white depths pop up, lands, Newton's Cradle deck, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I guess like the theory is if you have a pile of graveyard hate plus some sort of way to kill your opponent, it's going to be a good time for you, most likely. It's kind of funny because I think if I were to play Scaminator, I would be Esper and I would play Serenity in my sideboard. But you also have Fairy Macabre, so that like doesn't even really solve the entire problem.
Yeah, not necessarily, but I think people in the face of a lot of the Stompy matchups will go down on the Reanimator stuff.
Sure.
Expecting stuff like ley lines. I haven't even been boarding in Macabre versus the blue-black deck at least.
Oh yeah, apparently half of the Philadelphia SCG top 8 was the Scaminator deck.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere. The other thing is, I kind of think it's not... If you own Underground Sea, the deck is weirdly cheap to build. I think it's the other part of it, right?
Yeah. It definitely doesn't... It plays a lot of, like,
modern
Also,
cards, yeah.
a lot of modern cards plus Underground Seas.
And Forcible is obviously a non-zero amount, but like honestly, the deck is relatively cheap if you can source like. Honestly, like you don't even need 3 Underground Sea for this deck. I think you could probably get away with 2 and it would be totally fine. So I think it's a convergence of budget and it really feeling like a legacy deck rather than like a souped up modern deck. Is my suspicion is why it's so heavily played IRL as well.
Yeah, it has definitely looked impressive. Like the old scam decks from like November 2023 were they felt and looked kind of mopey to me, regardless of its like metagame dominance at the time. But this deck is definitely doing more busted things now, and it's a lot more threatening. Like the ever looming threat of like Entomb, Detraxa, untap, and you're dead, versus like the old scam deck, which was like a tempo deck that sometimes got to scam you or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually really interesting because Bob and I had this conversation. We were asking if the deck should actually play one Gristlebrand. Because I think sometimes if you Atraxa versus like a Plow or Solitude deck, it might not even be enough sometimes.
Yeah, I've definitely beaten, like, as Death and Taxes, I've definitely beaten my fair share of Atraxas, where, like, I would definitely be dead to Gristlebrand draw 14.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are just not like the same sort of game, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen some lists. I think the most common lists are just like on 1 Atraxa, 1 Archon, but I have seen some lists that are on like 2 Atraxa, 1 Archon, and it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. That would make more sense as like a first Gristlebrand over the second Atraxa.
Yeah, the list I have sleeved up if I start going to weeklies has 1 Gristlebrand, 1 Atraxa, 1 Archon, just because I think it's kind of low cost to like win versus Swords to Plowshares to play Gristlebrand instead of like being like, oh, I Atraxa, but like you have a Caracas, and then like the game gets weird. I'm like ahead like 2 cards, but then like you Recruiter and like get a Solitude, and then like somehow I'm dying. It's kind of weird, you know.
Regardless, I have been enjoying, as someone who plays like a bunch of Stompy and Death Attacks and stuff, I have enjoyed the move from the scam to being a tempo deck to being like this weird, very more graveyard heavy combo deck. It has felt like graveyard hate. It has opened up a lot more in terms of being effective against the deck. Like the deck is so cold to hearse in both like pre and post board games. It has like outs, you can find your borrowers or whatever, but just like they're just down on so much more interaction versus the other decks that you can play like Cage or Containment Priest or like Hearse, stuff like that, and like actually be able to win games versus the scam decks of old. Felt like I was just constantly dying to like just getting tempoed after I would like put a ley line into play or something.
The other thing I think that's worth noting is I think Broadside Bombardiers giving this deck a lot of access to removal and reach is a huge deal. I kind of feel like before you could randomly get stuck by like big creatures or like your opponent stabilizes at like 4, but since you're not actually a burn deck, it's hard to finish them off. Now I think like a lot of those problems have disappeared because of how powerful Bombardiers is in both of his roles.
Yeah, post Lord of the Rings, Moon Stompy was like stone dead because we had Lorien Revealed and Troll explode in popularity, making like basics a lot more predominant, your Blood Moon's worse, and then Troll specifically having 5 toughness and finding you a basic swamp, so it's just like you can't Blood Moon it away when they're trying to reanimate it. And you can't like Fury it or anything. The 5 damage breakpoint was really rough, but then Bombardiers got printed, and now you can hit 5 a lot easier.
Or you can just 7 them with your Evoked Fury post board.
Yeah. You can also just race them. I've raced a lot of people that just like go, oh, reanimate Troll takes 6. It's like, okay, Bombardiers, Rabble Master, attack for, 7, something like that, and eventually just chuck the Rabble at them for 5.
I had a fun time last Saturday. I was trying one of Dom Harvey's like brews. It's like a Rakdos artifacts deck. Imagine
Cauldron one, right?
Yeah, but Cauldron plus Bombardiers is pretty nonsensical because then all of your creatures with a counter on them gain boost, do that thing. Yes. So it just outputs like 14 damage in one swing. He also had Phyrexian, Devour, Walking Ballista. So if you get both of those under a Cauldron, your opponents just immediately die, which is kind of funny as well. Very Necrotic Ooze vibes.
I'm a big fan of like the Cauldron combo. I remember like trying it in Painter, but I'm just not like Painter brained enough to figure it out, but it like felt pretty promising, just like Engineer plus Cauldron plus a single Dreadnought or Devour or whatever,
Yeah.
felt pretty low cost. But the Painter players didn't really start playing it. I mean, like I think Dom's deck makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think those are just two different decks. Like, to me, Dom's deck is the result of saying, what if we just don't care about playing Painter Grindstone and build a style of deck, and this is what you end up with? Which releases a lot of the restrictions on the deck. Like, you don't have to play any Power Blasts in your main deck or whatever, you know? And also, I think you're just better at being aggressive in the games you need to be, because you just have more room for, like, you know, creatures that can actually attack or do something meaningful.
Yeah, Fable, Bombardier, you get to play like the Moon Stompy game a little bit better.
Yeah, minus the moons, because Urza Saga, like the Urza Saga tokens in the deck are still pretty insane. So, yeah. Bombardiers, hard to say anything bad about it. I guess tell me about the split of like hateful 3-drops nowadays. Like, why do you think we're here and this is correct?
Sucks.
Okay.
Trinisphere sucks. I've been like less and less high on it like every single time I come back to playing Moon Stompy. It's really a relic of a bygone era of Legacy where like decks were bad at hitting land drops and Trinisphere would like lock out decks just very easily. It just like doesn't really happen anymore. I kept one in the deck because I think it's better than like the third Magus of the Moon, which is probably the next card I would play in that slot. You could maybe even just like play another threat or something, but like there's this balance of threats and lock pieces that you want to maintain. But it's like easily the first cut a lot. Like the only matchups that you like, it is a good game one card because you do want that critical mass of like, oh, I'm gonna cast like a 3-drop that just makes my opponent not be able to play the game. And then in a lot of post-board games, it's just like, okay, we both know what how this match is going to go. My Trinisphere is not going to be like locking out people nearly as often. Cut it for our highly interactive cards instead. You can leave it in for like combo and control most of the time, but even then, sometimes not the control decks. Control decks are like weirdly amalgamated to the mid-range decks nowadays.
I kind of think. Well, no one in chat cancel me. I think the word control is applied very often when it shouldn't be, and basically all modern control decks are secretly mid-range decks, but...
yeah, that's like kind of correct.
I mean, like, I think Honorag just wants to make himself feel better when he's like, oh, I'm playing a control deck, I'm not playing stupid Jund. I'm just like, bro, your deck is so much closer to Jund than you really want to admit. Yeah, so... I definitely agree with you about Trinisphere, but I think it's probably nice to have one, and sometimes just like looting into it when you know you want it off of a Fable, like versus like Doomsday or Storm, is really, really, really nice.
We'll see a couple of matches where the Trinisphere is very, very good, and I think I was talking to Kulu Limpa, another like Moon Stompy specialist. He was like, how's the one of Trinisphere going? And I was like, well, I drew it 3 times, and one of the times I looted it away, and the other 2 times I played it on turn 1 and won the game. So like, it's clear, just always have it in your hand when it's good, and just never draw it otherwise.
I think Trinisphere has a lot of the similarities to like Gemstone Caverns nowadays, where like if it's your opener, you probably are much better off, but drawing it later is really not very good. Which is, I guess, a weird card to compare it to because one's a land, one's a 3-drop artifact from Darksteel.
Kind of want to put a Gemstone Caverns back. I've been like off and on Gemstone Caverns in this deck specifically.
Well, you know me. I think Sokensen's like the most overrated land alive.
Sokensen's so good in this deck and like no other deck. I've channeled so many Sokensens with Moon Stompy.
I'm memeing a little bit because I think in this deck Sokensen is actually pretty good, but I think like people play Takenuma way too often, and that card fucking sucks.
This is like the best Sokensen deck ever.
Whereas like I have no issues with Ottawa. That card's like insanely good, and Boseju's obviously like I don't understand the rate on Boseju. It just makes no sense. And unfortunately, the white one actually does suck. So,
well, possibly you're mad about that.
Well, actually, it's funny because it doesn't suck in standard, but that's like obviously a completely different power level. But in Legacy, I have real questions if you put Ayaganjo into your deck.
Mono White D&T gets to play it for like basically free, but you're not like excited. You're not excited to play it, but just like, okay, marginal upgrade for Delver when you're flooding or whatever.
I mean, I Ganjo in that deck is like equivalent to what, like, I don't know, it's probably about as good as Field of Ruin, if I had to guess.
Something like that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
at least it's better than Naganjo Castle.
Oh, but bro, what if you just prevent 2 damage to your Thalia?
And then the bolt kills it. What if? What if, Jarvis?
Uh,
I got scammed into when I was playing Legacy in like 2012 when I built the deck, everyone was on like 2 land Death and Taxes, 1 Naganjo Castle, 1 Horizon Canopy, just the worst mana bases you've ever seen. I played that deck for like a year straight without changing things because I didn't know anything about Legacy. I'm pretty sure I activated that Naganjo Castle 0 times.
So you just had non-basic planes in your deck that could be wastelanded?
It was just wastelandable planes, and I definitely lost games to it being wastelanded.
So it's funny because I think I remember the era you're describing, and my friend who played Death and Taxes IRL played Ancient Den instead, because he said in the postboard games he would often cast on Latent Tutor for it just to hit his land drop, which seems a lot better. But still also not very good.
Yeah, that's also suspect, but I mean,
it's actually
some amount of sense.
It sounds better than Diagonjo Castle to me.
Yeah, honestly.
Alright, so we covered the main deck. Sideboard, 4 Dead Gons, a Fiery Confluence of Magus, 2 Pyrokinesis, Red Elemental Blast, 2 Torp Orbs, the aforementioned Scarab Swarm and Fairy Macabres. These cards just kind of do what they say. Like, it's pretty obvious when you're going to want a card or not, I think.
Yeah, Torp Orb was not good for me, as we'll see. I think I boarded it in 0 times. But the Goblins matchup is just so bad with this deck.
I agree.
You kind of need to like really respect it, so you just have 4... it's nice at least that Dead Gone coincides well with the Scam matchup and Goblins, but then I also just have like 2 Pyrokinesis, 2 Torp Orb, because you just really need the help there. And then there are like other matchups where they're applicable. You can play Torp Orb against like Doomsday or Death and Taxes or Breakfast or whatever.
It's funny because I think someone copied my deck to play yesterday just randomly. They didn't talk to me or anything. They're like, oh, this deck looks cool. They said they meant to watch the video after they lost round 1. Then they decided not to lose again until the top 4. So that's pretty impressive. But the person did play against Goblins twice. And I don't know if you looked at my sideboard for that deck. It had 2 Doorkeeper Throw, 2 Cosmic's Return, and 2 Hydro Blast, which is like kind of an insane amount of hate for that matchup.
That's kind of fucked up.
Because Doorkeeper Thrall is so much better than Torpor Orb if you can play it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
because
sense.
Like they put Name Sticker on the stack and you're like, all right, I cast this thing, and then they are just sad because their entire turn, well, their turn's wasted, right?
Yeah. Then someone in the chat did ask about Caves of Chaos Adventure, and I don't want to lose that opportunity to get on my pedestal about Caves of Chaos Adventure. Chat, look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes right now. If you're a Moon Stompy player, stop putting it in your deck. Stop playing Caves of Chaos Adventure. It's not going to get anything except the mirror. There's nothing else you want. Like, it's so bad. The format has warped so drastically around the initiative, thanks to, like, red-white initiative being a deck, and then, like, Bowmasters existing as a card. Like, the control decks aren't control. They get, like, a bunch of creatures in play, so, like, they just like cast Bowmaster on your end step, untap, kill your Caves of Chaos Adventure, attack, you take the initiative, you lose the game or whatever. It's just stop playing it. We can all be happier because I'm not gonna lose to Caves of Chaos Adventure in the mirrors anymore. It's not good. Don't do it.
Right. So the problem is the people here are likely to listen to that, but the people who actually need to access for that message are not here.
That is true. Hopefully people will copy my list because it won.
Oh, sure. Well, it's funny because people do that, then they just start changing things for no explainable reason. Like, they'll just, like, add their favorite card to a deck, you know?
That is true. People love Caves of Chaos Adventure. I actually had one trying one in the grindy matchups, and then I was playing against the Bug Beans deck, just like extremely stock Bug Beans, and I sat there and I stared at it in the sideboard and was like, do I even want this in against like one of the grindiest decks in the format right now? And then I was like, if the answer is like, if I'm questioning this at all, I should just be playing anything else.
Well, the Scarab Swarm seems a lot better in that role, and plus it's actual graveyard 8, so I assume that card should be good. I also think probably, if I had to guess, Caves of Chaos Adventure is worse than any red Planeswalker, and those have not aged well either. So, kind of funny to
Yeah,
think about.
I remember when this deck was playing like the uncounterable Chandra in the side.
Awakened Inferno. I played that one too in red green lands, but it's not very good. I think the card I would play if I really wanted a card like that would be Chandra Torch of Defiance, but I don't think it's aged well, sadly.
Yeah, that card used to be a Moon Stompy staple back when this deck was not really an aggro deck, but an actual prison deck with main deck ensnaring bridges and Karns and stuff.
Yeah, I do kind of wonder if that version of the deck wins versus this one in the mirror. It probably does, actually.
Yeah, this deck has exactly one out to an ensnaring bridge.
Is it one Fiery Confluence?
It's a one sideboard Fiery
Ooh,
Confluence.
that's well, fortunately you don't have to really worry about that, I think is the actual reality, but
yes. Before I cut the Caves of Chaos Adventure for a Fiery Confluence, and before the Caves of Chaos Adventure was my only out to an ensnaring bridge because you just trap them, and I played against Hawks in a prelim, and they ensnaring bridged me at exactly 5 life, and 12 turns later I drew my Caves of Chaos Adventure and killed them because it's Pox and they just can't kill you.
That's really funny. I feel like that happened. Oh, that's also one funny thing that happened. I ensnaring bridge locked a dredge opponent as Dom's deck, or some other deck that couldn't beat dredge, and they're like, "Oh, it was Muxus." And they're like, "Oh, are you just wasting my time? How am I going to die?" And then I just sat there until I drew my Walking Ballista, and then they made me like do all the clicking still, so it still took a while.
Classic.
But I mean, obviously, if you play Ensnaring Bridge, you're going to have a way to win through it. It's just nonsensical to not do that nowadays.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think deck looks great. It's kind of funny that Dead Gone has been seeing a lot more play. Although, I guess let's just touch on Ban and Restricted real quick. I do think it's interesting that they unrestricted Ponder for God knows what reason. I don't think anyone actually even wanted this. It's so weird to me that it happened.
If your name is Justin Gennari.
Really? But I think the net result is he'll lose to Doomsday more. And I don't think he actually wants that.
He just wants cards unbanned all the time.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Nothing happened to Legacy, which I think is fine. I mean, I think they might regret Grief in a bit, but they're not going to touch it. It's funny because the article actually did mention we're watching Bowmasters. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Bowmasters isn't even really bad for the format. Like, why do we fucking care about its play rate? It's very weird to me.
Yeah. The only thing I kind of wish, this is not a strongly held opinion of mine. Some people will maybe hate, but like, I kind of wish they would look at fucking Name Sticker Goblin. Just after playing in MC Chicago, and there's so much dumb stuff around the sticker sheets and the Jewel player like writing out sticker sheets on a piece of binder paper because he needed to like, what if I Phyrexia metamorph my opponent's sticker goblin? And it's like there's a guy on Ant who was just like bluffing it for fun. It's just like, do we really need this in the format? And they like didn't mention it at all, which is like, I kind of wish that they kept an eye on it because it's really annoying in paper. It's fine on power level. It's just like I just want to stop playing against it.
Goblin should just work like it does on MTGO. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I think that's like
yeah, that would be fine. I don't think there's a realistic way of them doing that. Like full on card errata seems a bit like out of scope for them.
It's not Hearthstone where you can just do that shit like, and it doesn't fucking matter, right? Like. The problem is, this card is printed, and it says a bunch of words on it, and then you're like, oh, actually, we roll a d20 instead. People will think you're just making up the most insane shit. Like, it actually sounds fake, right? Like, it refers to vowels, and you're like, oh, actually, we roll a d20, and these numbers, I get this much mana, these numbers, I get this much, these numbers, I get this much. They'll actually think you're an insane person. Like... That I think that's the real issue. I mean, I think if they could go back and redesign the card, they would not design it this way. Also, like maybe if they just hadn't put it at Legal and Legacy, question mark.
I mean, that's definitely something they should not have done. But here we are now. And I do think for the people that like want the online version, I like the paper version more if stickers were out of the equation. I like the global knowledge of like how much the goblins are going to make, like the ability to be like, okay, my like it actually happened to me playing in MC Chicago. My goblins went at mold to 5, and they revealed triple 4s on their sticker sheets. I was like, okay, so I can afford to tap out on turn 1 for Mother Runes. I don't have to hold up Plow to get high roll 30% name sticker into Muxus, which I have no idea if it's going to happen until the trigger resolves. So the play patterns feel good in game. It's just the nonsense of oh, let me reveal my 10 sticker sheets, and then you gotta choose 3 randomly, and then we gotta count the vowels. It's just why are we here? Can we play Magic?
So to be fair, 2 Sundays ago was literally the first time someone actually presented this deck to me, and I asked them, "Oh, what am I supposed to do?" I guess it's on me for not knowing how this stupid thing works, but it's also not very intuitive.
Yeah, and half the people don't even know how it works either. I've played Goblins players that'll just shuffle up their sticker and say, "Hey, you can choose 3," and that's not technically how it works. You're supposed to reveal all 10 face up, then randomize them, and then select 3 at random, to prove that you don't have duplicates or something, because the other 7 sticker sheets never get revealed.
Huh.
No one does that because
none of my guys did that. It seems like a huge waste of time, actually.
Yeah, because it doesn't really matter, and but just that's the technical procedure, but no one does it right. Well, it's just a hassle. This just should not be paper legal.
All right, I guess that's our rant about name sticker goblin. Oh yeah, they did make sure sticker cards would not be legacy power level, except. You fucking printed Seething Song Goblin. I don't...
Yeah, Seething Song on a relevant creature type.
God, it's just... for the real boomers out here, who remembers Priest of Gix?
Oh, I know Priest of Gix.
Well, yeah, because you probably... Didn't you play EDH before? You probably saw it there.
I played it in a Krenko... No, not Krenko. What was the Dungeon Warden? Grenzo Dungeon Warden.
Yeah. And there's also a red version, I think, of that card. I don't remember what it's called. Urbrask's Apprentice. It's Urbrask's Apprentice. Or Priest of Urbrask. Yeah.
Yeah, Priest of Urbrask.
Yeah, they both kind of do the same thing, and they're both not very good, and then Name Sticker Goblin is just yeah, what's up? Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
Getting us back on track, one thing that I didn't mention about the sideboard that's super relevant now is talking about dead guns again is Triumph of St. Catherine. That card is very scary, and I think one of the biggest reasons I was scared to play Moon Stompy. But luckily, at least so far, a lot of the Triumph decks have converged towards this Bant edging into 3 to 4 color or 4 to 5 colors, and also just playing Murktide. So with 4 Triumph, 3, 4 Murktides, you're just allowed to board in a bunch of dead guns against them regardless, which is great because dead gun is like one of the best answers to Triumph. Also, you do have like the 5 damage breakpoints that we talked about earlier with Troll, but it also gets shuffled back into the deck unless you also have Hearse, so it's like less of a permanent answer. But card's scary, but you do have a lot of like reasonable outs to it.
A great question. What is the name of this card? Is it Triumph of what exactly?
Triumph of the Horde, I believe. 3 and a green. All your creatures get +1/+1 and infect and trample or something.
Well, also you're already wrong. It's 2 GG.
Fuck.
I know this because I literally won a limited PTQ with that card in my deck for Pro Tour Paris. That was my first PTQ one. That card was fucking broken though. Obviously in limited, it's just like, well, you're fucking dead. It's Triumph of St. Katie. Shout out to friends of the stream. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that card... Well, also, I think for Moon Stompy specifically, you really hope your opponent doesn't open on the Leyline of the Guild Pact. I think.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
The Leyline Scion deck is probably nightmarish. I've never played against it, but every time I look at a deck list, which is basically like yours and like 2 other people that copied your deck list, it's like, wow, I'm probably never winning. I will just pray for turn 1 Blood Moon and you don't have a basic land.
Yeah, the problem is I also play Lorien Revealed, so I can get out... Like, so the instant I get a basic land, and I have a land on the Guild Pact, I can just Binding whatever, because it just automatically works. Yeah. It's kind of insane that it works like that, you know?
Yeah, if you have basic, it just completely shuts off like Blood Moon, you can just cast Scion for 2 mana. Yeah, you just need to hope that they have bad luck with, like, putting Leyline in play on turn 0, and just... It's definitely not a good matchup at all, theoretically. I haven't played against it once, but I would be terrified too.
Well, so Moon Stompy is one of the main reasons I play Kozilek's Return. honestly. Like, it's just so insane versus you, right?
My mono 2 toughness, my 2
Well,
toughness.
you have
survival.
Furies and unlicensed sources that don't die to it, but everything else, sure.
True.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just I think the way other people build the Beanstalk deck is really weird to me. I don't understand why we have to play a super grindy game when we could just go kill them instead.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of what some of the Beanstalk stock decks have started doing with like the Murktide stuff.
Sure.
It has felt like all the control decks have moved more towards like I'm going to attack you with giant creatures and you're going to die, rather than I'm going to kill you on turn 85.
Well, it kind of turns out that if you just put giant creatures in your deck that trigger the Beanstalk, it's actually a much way to play the deck because you just don't have to like sit around like waiting to determinist their creatures to trigger Beanstalks instead or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that basically covers everything. Oh, I guess going forward, is there anything you would change for even say, I guess next Sunday, which is a very important tournament on MTGO?
I'm probably going to play this exact 75. I would
Okay.
maybe tweak it. Right now, there are a couple of matchups that I am just hard disrespecting with the deck's current build. Your matchup against Rhinos is not great. Your matchup against like high fast decks where you'd want Null Rod, like Tony's Jewel deck, some other artifact combo is worse. The aforementioned Leyline Scion deck would probably be best handled by like adding Rebs, I think. You would want additional Rebs to tackle Leyline would be my guess, but I'm not even 100% sure on that. I think that matchup is probably more unfixable than not, but like I am skimping on a lot of those cards in favor of like teching pretty hard for the more popular matchups. So like, if I were to change something, I'd probably like maybe add like a Null Rod or something.
Specifically, you're overtech, right? I think Entomb right now, but
yeah, very much so.
I guess we'll see if it goes back down. I kind of suspect. Well, I'm also probably going to play next Sunday. My suspicion is that deck's going to be very heavily represented because I think it's also an easy deck to get into the format with. Like it's pretty clear what its plan is going to do, and all of the cards are really, really, really. They just work together in obvious ways. Is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I would suspect it's going to be a really popular deck amongst like. I mean this in a non-insulting way, but which are like the people that are, like love to grind prelims and showcases, but don't really like play a ton of Legacy. So they'll just like copy paste a really like a top placing deck list.
Yeah,
I think they'll probably show up with that a lot.
And the thing is, like, I think if you're just a good player from another format, it does make sense for you to copy that because, like, oh, I don't play this format that much, but this deck has basically all of the good blue cards in it, but also does something incredibly degenerate if you let it go unscathed. So it's very appealing for that reason, I think.
Yeah, it kind of fulfills that niche where you'd see a lot of players that don't play show up with like red, black, red, or whatever. It kind of does that, but you have like good cards instead.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Canister actually switch decks for once to that deck, because I think he would be totally fine playing that. Canister, kind of funny guy. He really does not like Legacy because he hates cantrips, so he's actually similar to you in that regard. But then his solution is to just play Reanimator instead.
Famously does not like Legacy.
Well, he hates the cantrips, I think, is really it. Which is very... I know, it's basically the same. Philosophically, he's identical to you. It's just the way he ends up on picking decks is completely different.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's enough digression for now. Oh, I guess one quick question about that. If you weren't going to play Moon Stompy, what else would you recommend people play?
I don't have any. My heart is telling me to say D&T, but I don't. But my brain is saying I don't want to. I shouldn't recommend that to people. I would probably play D&T if I wasn't playing Moon Stompy, but that's because I'm a D&T player at heart. I think in terms of like trying to prepare for expected meta and stuff, then I would probably play one of like the aforementioned decks earlier. I've seen a lot of like green-white depths showing up in like legacy leagues and stuff, and I think that deck probably has a good matchup versus the scam deck, stuff like that. Lands, Newton's deck, but then notably also, I think Moon Stompy has a good matchup against all of those decks, except for maybe Green White Depths. That matchup's dicier, but still definitely winnable, especially with 4 Dead Gons.
Yeah, I kind of think it just depends on how their deck is built versus yours. Is my actual suspicion. They could make their deck a lot better versus you if they wanted to. Like Force of Vigor count is a huge deal, I think, and also like I think the better depths players will just sit around. If you're bluffing 3 mana every turn and you're not doing anything else, they'll just be like, oh, we'll just triple port you every turn until you eventually lose to other things. Like how long can you leave that up? You know.
Yeah, my general game plan in that matchup is like you need to establish a pretty good clock and some number like a lock piece in play, get a moon, and then back it up with Dead Gone, because it's just like the worst matchup to just try to moon them out because they just have so many answers. They'll just like put a depths into play and then kill your Magus, kill your Blood Moon, and then kill you.
Yeah. One note is I think it's kind of funny once they make the Lage, if they have a Reclaimer untapped and your Blood Moon's gone, it's kind of hard for Dead Gone to be good enough because of Sejiri's step, which is super annoying. But
yeah,
of course, if they
this deck has a ton of removal, so you're
sure.
like decent against their creatures plan.
Yeah, I think sometimes you could lose to Giant Knights, obviously, because Giant Knight basically for any red deck is almost impossible to beat. I guess Hearse helps a lot there. So I guess you're leaving in the Hearses versus Depths, actually.
Well, I think was I shaving them or cutting them? I guess we'll see. I tried to bring up the sideboard to like kind of denote what my sideboard plans were. I forget if I was cutting or not. I think I was. I think I was just cutting chalices.
All right. I think we've rambled enough. Let's just head to the first match. You did tell me a lot of these matches are fast, and that's fine. You know, we'll just...
A lot of, I like to pretend that I'm a smart player who, like Moon Stompy's not, like, brainless, blah, 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 cast your hits, they die or whatever. There's a lot of thinking involved. A lot of, I would say an uncharacteristic amount of these matches are just cast my hate piece, blah, 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 you're dead.
You know, that's fine. Like, I mean, sometimes that's just how it is.
Yeah, sometimes you just run hot, sometimes your opponent doesn't have it. You just get them.
I'll just download them quickly to the folder because I think I want to open them in VLC player, so I can control the speed easier.
Yeah.
Where the hell is it downloading to? I should have done this before. I just realized it now. Okay.
Wow, doxing my email, Jarvis.
Oh, whoops! I really shouldn't have done that. I did not think about that.
I don't care.
Oh, sorry about that.
Feel free to email me all of your fan mail, chat. I'll respond to each and every one individually. No, I won't. For Stompy Gets Lands, how do you play the moon effects around depths into removal, but I also want to buy turns to kill? It's similar to depths, but lands generally has worse ways of removing them. They'll have usually like similar Force of Vigors, but Magus specifically is really good versus them. Like, a lot of them aren't on Punishing Fires anymore in favor of builds, so it's a lot easier to be aware of that. So usually you want to be able to try to Magus first, and usually try to set up multiple layers, like Magus into Blood Moon, or double Magus, or like one of those plus Dead Gone, stuff like that. I also usually don't just play out the Blood Moon just with, like, nothing. You'd want to, like, establish a clock, follow up with the Blood Moon, or play the last possible turn before they can make a Merilage, or if they like put a Urza Saga into play, get some like value out of it, stuff like that. You don't just want to like slam it as soon as possible every time.
You're getting a picture of a frog from Raisins for Life. Nice.
And a deck pick from official JDK.
And getting signed up for cat packs. Wow. You know, my chat is nice. They'll send you things that you actually want as opposed to things you don't want. All right.
How many of those get picked up by my spam filter?
Probably a lot. Like, Google's really good about that, actually. All right.
That is true. No one's emailed me yet. Oh, no, yeah, never mind.
Ornate puzzles. I feel like this person's usually lands one trick.
They were not according to their MTG Goldfish.
Okay.
Which I guess I'm glad, because in the blind, you just always Trinisphere here, but I looked them up and they had played a bunch of Moon Stompy, so it's like,
Oh, so you're fabling or rabbling? Probably fabling
yes.
on one, yeah.
Yes, the mirror is often won by who. Fable is just a real fucked up Magic card.
You know, a lot of those mid-range mirrors in other formats are about who fables more. Yeah, so it definitely tracks.
Pretty easy discards. We have a bunch of mana. You'd like maybe discard the Hearse over the mountain, but
I was thinking about that. I think I would have discarded Hearse, but I think it's more of a judgment call.
yeah, given that we have like City in play and an active Goblin Shaman, I figured we're not really short on mana. And I think
and also Bombardiers is just they're never going to be able to block, and they also die really fast. Also, Fable plus Reflection plus Bombardiers is actually lethal basically every time. It's just
like a bajillion damage.
I can't even count that high. It's just too high. The number is too big.
Notably, I think it's like 14, so it's not that big.
Oh, 14 is basically 20.
True.
Oh, so this is kind of an interesting one.
This hand was a little loose, maybe, but I kept it on the draw. I definitely would never keep on the, but
yeah.
You're pretty in it if you rip like one mana source in the first 2 turns. Right?
Yeah, and you can get a 2 for 2, but it costs you 0 mana, right?
Yeah, and we have this like terrible Magus that we can pitch. We just rip a land. You just like you go land, dead gone, a creature, whatever, untap land, Simian Spirit Guide, play a Rabble, stuff like that. I think this hand's fine. The deck has 21 lands plus 4 Chrome Boxes.
So
you draws.
Yeah, because one is removed, the mountain's removed. So you're basically like 64% essentially to hit by turn 2, which is the turn you need it by. So it's probably the question is, do you think a mulligan to 6 would be better than that 64% outer? There's probably not, because you have a lot of the good tools. I mean, if this Rabble Master were a Fable, I would certainly be super happy. Like, as it is, like, the major issue with this hand is I think Rabble Master dies to a lot of their stuff. Like, it's very fragile.
Anywhere close to mine, yeah. This is Rabble Master. Rabble Master's like your worst threat.
Right. But, you know, you do get draw steps. It's not like you have to play with only this hand. Oh, did you side in the Fiery Confluence?
Yes.
Good. I think it's obviously correct.
Yeah, against the mono two toughness creatures.
Drawing another shock there is actually pretty good.
It's not bad. Not a land.
Wait, why is a Blood Moon in their deck still?
So, Moon Stompy mirrors are awkward because you don't have a lot of cards and a lot of bad cards. Mm-hmm. So, like, after you cut all the Trinispheres and the Chalices, sometimes you just keep in Blood Moon because it's red, so it pitches to Chrome Mox and Fury.
Oh, I see.
I boarded all mine out, and I kept in, like, Hearses, but I also just don't know how their deck is constructed. But yeah, you can see we don't draw the land, and then we just die.
Oh yeah, I mean, they have an unanswered Fable. The Pyrokinesis will kill the Goblin Shaman and the thing, which maybe gives you a theoretical shot. Oh, I guess it's going to kill those 2 things instead.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I was supposed to also dead the Shaman token this turn.
I think so too, because I think the extra treasure does matter nowadays. It used to not.
They click through the attack after I cast Pyrokinesis, which works out.
Yeah, but the problem is...
It doesn't work out because we missed for 6 turns.
Yeah, that's unlucky, obviously, but that was the risk you were taking by keeping that hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and okay, fine.
They wanted to cast Venture, chat. Don't do it.
It was good exactly right there.
Don't be my opponent. Be me. I won the challenge. They didn't.
So you're missing red. I think that's like a pretty easy mulligan, yeah. Oh, this hand's... Yep.
Very good.
Do you just bottom Magus, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little risky, because if they do if they do kill your Fable, I mean, you get the loots, but you have a bunch of good cards that you don't really want to loot.
Right.
So if they kill your Fable and then you miss on red source, it's a little awkward, but obviously, especially on 6, this hand's just good.
Yeah, both of you were on 6, though. And, like... Okay, well, at least they had to trade 2 cards for that shaman, which is not ideal.
Works out pretty well. We can stop on this Fable trigger because I really...
Okay. So, I mean, okay. I think a permanent red source would be better than Spirit Guide, so it's pretty easy to consider dumping that one. How many red sources are in your deck?
21 lands minus 7. What was that? 14 plus 4 Chromox is 18.
But there's 1 Spirit Guide in your... Or is that with or without Spirit Guide?
That was without Spirit Guides.
Okay. Well, we can just figure out what you think you should do. How badly do you think you need this, like, red source?
Well, the problem is, like, you do need the red source, but we also have, like, nothing to do with the source, right? So it's a matter of, like, how reactive am I going to play out these next couple of turns?
Sure.
Like, we want to find a land so we can start casting spells, but we also need spells to cast.
So...
But, like, we could... Conceivably, we could just have a bunch of removal. Right? We have 3 removal spells and just, like, draw lands eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So, the real issue is, even if you rummage twice, I think you're only, like, 57% to hit a red source that, like, actually works. Which is not that high. So, it's kind of a weird judgment call. The problem is, if we, like, keep everything and just use Spirit Guide to kill something, then 2 for, like...
Yeah.
Two,
just like 2/2 in our hand, or 1 for 2s in our hand.
Yeah, exactly. I think that might just be too bad that I'm inclined to discard Spirit Guide and Pyrokinesis.
Yeah, I think that's what I end up doing.
And for those of you who are wondering, you're like, oh, why would we keep Fury instead of Pyrokinesis? And my vision is just drawing a bunch of lands and hard casting it as a Flame Tongue copy, which is a good way to get ahead.
Or we have a Fable in play, like in 2 turns,
Sure.
we could evoke plus copy.
Yeah, that's less good than just casting it, obviously, but...
I mean, maybe we don't have 3 RR by
then. Anyways, yeah, I'm inclined to discard Spirit Guide and Pyrokinesis, but this is certainly, like... Here's the difficulty in playing these decks, because you don't know, like... It's also why rummaging is so much harder than looting. Like, looting, you have all the information up front. Rummaging, it, like, gets unknown.
Yeah, how much is better to discard than a random versus, like, which of the cards in my hand is the best.
Okay, so, yeah, you discard the other things. You drew a red source, which is very good.
Yes.
The City of Traders is, like, okay, not great.
It gets us Fury eventually.
Yeah.
Like, you're really scared that they're about to cast Caves of Chaos event.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be great, but... Okay, now the game gets... I kind of wonder if you're even supposed to play that city.
I thought about it too. I thought about it for a bit. The reason I did is because if we draw red source, we can play Fury plus activate Reflection.
Yep, I think you're just priced into killing the goblin every time, obviously. Because...
Yeah, so my opponent discarded Magus Rabble Masters. So...
Yep. It's pretty clear what's going on. Oh, they don't have any removal?
Yeah, I don't know what's in their hand, but...
Well, it's just...
I assume Fury at this point. I assume, like, just second Fury, and I'm just gonna get, like, Wrath to hell. But
no, my suspicion is their hand's, like, all Rabble Masters, Fables, and, like, Maguses or whatever.
More 3-drops. That's what I guess happened. Yeah, I was definitely like, okay, if they Fury me, I'll have Fable, and, like, I need to rip a red source so I can hardcast one, otherwise I have to, like, pitch cast on just to Reflections, which is horrible. But then they just didn't have Fury yet. It was great.
One sec, I'm trying to figure out... Sometimes you cut out audio-wise. I'm trying to figure out why. I don't think it's a volume thing. It might just be, like, a connection thing.
I don't know if it's, like, just a weird noise gate or anything.
Do you have a noise gate? No, but it shouldn't go through Discord. There shouldn't be a noise gate.
It's Discord doing it. Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. Well, we'll just leave it and... Alright. Let's look at match number 2. Strifo. Well...
Classic.
I mean... Alright. If you all don't know who Strifo is, he's notorious for playing, like, 5-color nonsense.
5-color deck, Fade and Punishing Fire.
Yeah. as a result, I think XJ's actual best hands would all contain Blood Moon, but
Yes.
you know,
I'm snap keeping turn 1 Fable against him though. Especially double Fable. Fable is like
sure.
your best not Blood Moon.
Do you keep the hearse versus him? I guess you do.
Yeah, he's got like Urros
Yep.
and the blue black drown in the lock.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I do versus this deck specifically that is that I'll sandbag Hearse for a bit because
Sure.
I will usually only try to play out Hearse when I have like a reason to like try to exile my own graveyard to play around drown in the lock or like eat an Uro that's already there, stuff like that. And then I think about it for a bit, and then I just slam this Fury because 3/3 double strike.
Also, he usually doesn't play white, so it's actually not that easy for him to kill Fury, if I recall correctly.
A few lightning bolts, but like drown doesn't kill it, push doesn't kill it.
Yep.
He's got trophies too, but like we're also flipping the second Fable, so
yep.
So I think about going for lethal, but like there's so many ways we're going for lethal. A Bowmaster, right?
Sure.
So I just hold back the reflections to try to like do the combo instead and just attack for
8. The first time I saw that in some arena championships, that convinced me to go out and buy 8 Fables for paper. I'm just like, this is so nonsensical, and every other mode on that card is insanely broken. Like, it's just, what the fuck is this card?
Fable's a really fucked up Magic card, that's for sure.
I think it's like, yeah, I haven't seen it in Vintage, but that doesn't mean it's not played. It's just
Toast got top 16 with 4 Fables in his deck at Vintage Eternal Week.
Oh yeah, Mana Crypt and Soul Ring were his best cards.
Shock.
The ones that are like fake power, essentially, right?
So here, Strife almost to 5, and then
yeah. Toast was there. Yeah, I mean, like the Moon's. Honestly, if Toast had gotten a different matchup playing for top 8 instead of fucking Oath, I think it's very conceivable he would have been in top 8 of that tournament.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas, like, you guys just said, all right, well, we'll just scoop to Oath. It's fine. All right.
Like, you see I had, like, a window to play her.
Yep.
Didn't.
That's fine.
And then he plays Dak, and then we just Fury it and beat him to death. Like,
I also enjoy how you got to pitch your land to it. That always feels so broken.
Shadow Smashing is so good in this deck.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
Like, it's wild how much Moon Stompy can utilize, like, every single land that comes in untapped, taps for red, and does a thing. Like, Den of the Bugbear is really good. Sokenzon's really good. Shadow Smashing's really good.
Well, sometimes Den's not very good if it's your
that is true.
third land.
I've been burned by all of them.
Sure.
But I think for the most part they are all huge upgrades.
Where's Ramming at Ruins? Yeah, that one's not good. All right, Moon Madness.
Maybe not all of them.
This is usually Dark Depths, right? For Moon Madness.
Yeah, they're a Depths player. Also 61 cards. It's like a Depths sign.
Is it? I feel like that's more likely to be.
Well, that plus like having some. They had like history.
Sure.
They had some scam and or something recently in Goldfish, but 61 saw like after that made me think that like they were more likely to be on Depths, but also they were on the play. My hand was reasonable. I thought about Furying the Arbor, but like you don't really want to, especially with Hearse in my hand. I could Fury basically any secondary threat. I really wanted them to just like cast Nightmare, like a 3/3 Knight would have been great.
Yep. Instead, that didn't happen.
I guess Sylvan Library, which is like fine. We have a good pressure, and we have Chalice to protect it. Then they play Knight, which is great.
You still get to kill it cleanly, unless if they have sneaky. Oh no! I guess with the Hearse, you get everything. That's super nice. Yeah.
I almost fucked that up because
yeah, I saw that. Yep.
If the Knight had one more toughness because you're supposed to activate first because I killed that Dryad Arbor, I had a mini panic attack when I did that. Oh shit! It's still fine. It's still dead. They have Maze of Ith, which you don't always see.
I notoriously do not like Maze of Ith in the deck because I think it makes your mana bad. But
I love Evoke Fury Crew Hearse. It's so fun.
Who's that?
Driving your car with a dead spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I used a lot of Crooks to crew Reckoner Bankbusters and Smokelers Copters. It's very similar. On your way out, please drive this thing for me. On your way out. Isolated System asks, who is the MTGO person you're most afraid to tag in a challenge?
What do we mean by that? Like,
Username, I guess.
Am I am I playing them? Like a
Yeah.
person I'm most scared to play against?
Yeah. It's probably JPA, honestly.
JPA is terrifying. JPA is really scary to play against.
Yeah, I think JPA is really good and also has a reasonable range. Although, I think if Sneak and Show is good, he'll play it. Otherwise, he'll just play something else.
Yeah, Wonder Pro is really scary, but
mostly
I guess even when I'm on Moon Stompy, it's like I think Doomsday's a good matchup, but he's just such a good Doomsday player. And Doomsday is just always scary to play against. Those matchups where you're just like walking along with.
Yep.
Oh, that is true. Lackey's right. Sylvia has my fuck. I played him twice at like very high level, like top 8 in like big moto events, and he has just like whitelisted, drawn the shit out of me, and just like he's an excellent player.
All right. Anyways.
Also, I guess was it Juju Bean who like beat?
Yeah, I don't know. Juju Bean's obviously very good.
That kid has my number. He's beaten me twice at like similar to Sylvia at like super high level.
All right, so it's game 2 versus Steps. It's like
it's loose. I might have put it. I maybe should have put it back. Like I don't really know what the plan is here.
The plan is to use all our resources to kill a Reclaimer and have no follow up. Apparently,
and then cast a Blood Moon and pray.
I think it. Oh, I see. Your hand's so awkward. Yeah, I think maybe this actually was not a keep.
Yeah, it might have not been a keep once I realized that you can't Fury and turn 1 Blood Moon.
I think this Reclaimer is going to beat you eventually.
And we top deck Magus. It's like, all right, we're in it. And then I know what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's just impossible to play around it there, I think.
Yeah.
You don't have a clock. It takes way too long to try to play around it.
I think that hand was probably a mulligan in retrospect.
Yeah, I think so. It did not look very good.
Yeah,
and it didn't play out well. Well, we have the red source.
It's the sneaky red source.
Yeah. Force of Vigor is unfair. It is a little bit much, I would say.
You know what else is unfair? The fucking Blood Moon rule change. That's some bullshit right there. Dark District coming with counters. That's messed up.
But they wanted people to feel less bad about their tapped Sacred Foundries.
Real Legacy players remember you could still name your creature types with Cavernous Souls.
I mean, if we're gonna be old man yelling at Cloud, you guys don't want this to happen because I can beat all of you at this shit. Seriously, like you do not want to go down this road.
Anyway, this game's going great.
Yeah.
Less great. They Force of Vigor me. Bad.
Okay, notably, B-Raj plays 2 decks in Legacy. One is Death and Taxes, the other is Dark Depths. So
yeah, Expedition Map, also notable Dark Depths fan. Hey, we top deck another Blood Moon. Everything's going great. They get Blood Moon locked again, and we have second Dead Gone just in case.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to kill them before they draw 3 Mox Diamonds or like one of either basic. The white basic probably doesn't even do a lot here.
I remember being Naya Depths, and if you got a green source in game 1 and had Mix and Boo in your deck, this matchup became so much easier. Do you know Mix and Boo kills people really fucking fast?
Yeah, I am also scared of if at some point red again and play like for a Magus kill off a single green.
I don't think they will. I mean, like, I probably would play Naya, but I think most people do not agree with that.
Yeah, like I know people have tried Naya in the past for like Minskimbu and like blasts and like fourth or whatever, and just like it feels like if you are like playing red, then like just play a Moloch, and that scares me. But
Moloch sounds pretty good actually, like just in general.
Moloch is sick, yeah.
Also,
the outcome, yeah.
Darn, Viraj is a good dude, even if he is rooting against you in a match where he knows you're gonna win, which is kind of funny. I do not recognize his username whatsoever.
I didn't either. I don't think I knew what they were on. Maybe I did, because I kept his hand. This hand's, like, okay against a lot.
This looks like a Delver deck to me.
Yes.
Or the deck formerly known as Delver. I don't know. I guess they all have 4 Delvers now.
I was hemming and hawing over, like, playing around Daze here, leading with Mountain, but drawing second Hearse means jam into Daze. And then Dazed. Alright, 1 second. I think I should not... The dog from this room.
It's dog chat time.
Alright, back.
Nice.
So what was happening? Things were bad. We wastelanded. We get dazed again.
Oh, that's kind of bad, actually.
Yeah, second day is really bad. I wasn't sure between, like, Chalice or Hearse there, but I was pretty scared of Murktide. Like, inhibiting Murktide is, like, my #1 priority, and especially in pre-board games versus Silver. And then they just also have Force. These are the nightmare games.
Yeah,
turn 1 threat.
Yep.
Dazed. Oh, no, it wasn't turn 1 threat. It was turn 2 threat, in fairness, but, like, Daze, Force.
The only upside was they wasted your city, which I think kind of didn't work out that great for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have the Force at the time,
just
had a Daze, I could have potentially landed the Hearse or the Chalice.
Chalice's Fable might be good enough, but it depends exactly what is left in their hand. Oh, well, never mind. I guess you're just gonna die instead.
We're still... no. We're dead to second channeler. We could have beaten the 1 channeler, potentially. And then we draw Ancient Tomb, Shatter Skull.
Oh, do you have enough to double it?
Yep.
You'll be at 2 life, but that's fine.
It's fine, unless the last card in their hand is Lightning Bolt, but who would have that?
Your opponent basically had all of the cards I would have versus you in those scenarios.
Yes. My opponent had a very good Delver draw versus me that game. Did not work out.
Sometimes that happens, like...
Yep. Sometimes Delver Delvers you. That's what they're good at. This game's fun.
There's a lot riding on this Hearse. But also Den of the Bugbear, I guess, might just beat them down, huh?
Yeah, Den's a spell. It's, like, fine.
I've played a lot of Den of the Bugbears.
It's definitely not exciting, but I think it was, like, good enough. Mana stability is something that I kind of value a lot versus Delver.
The other terrifying thing is, I think Meltdown might be unbeatable for you this game, but what are you going to do about it? There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, they can't cast Meltdown until, like, turn 3 anyway, so, like, they're, like, cantripping from the land, and then they just have to turn to a Braid with nothing, which is...
It's funny, because I don't see that many Braids. Like,
yeah, same.
I think it's just too low impact is my issue with that card.
Man, they definitely got me with it. But we have this Red Elemental Blast for this Force of Will. Which is very good for the Chrome Mox in my hand.
Yeah, I mean...
very good for the second Chrome Mox that I draw.
Okay.
Turn it into real cards. Look at that.
Yeah. Those cards are real. So I guess we're casting Hearse and seeing if it works. Oh, so they're the Juju Bean deck.
Yeah, they're on Rogue Delver lists.
Oh, did they actually cut Delver from their deck?
Yeah, they were on 0 Delvers.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Delver's like kind of the worst card in the deck now, but you have to play some number for your mana curve.
Yeah, I think Delver list is much worse for Stompy specifically, at least. It's nice. We draw Shatter Skull Smashing. which continues to be great. Wrath them. I do have to like in order to play her on days we have to blow up the city to play out the Sokens on, which is double bad. But
it's okay because if you draw another soul land, you can start attacking with Den of the Bugbear. I guess now we can just cast that and see if. Well, you can keep them off Delirium, and their Murktide will be like a 3/3, most likely.
Yep. I don't know why I didn't cast the Simian Spirit.
I also think that's weird.
I think in my brain I was like, I want to activate this Den. But I think I just should have cast it. It doesn't matter, I don't think, because I think it just gets... Although I guess maybe they drew the counter this turn. Because I think I cast it this turn and it gets countered. But like maybe they didn't have that Force Will in their hand. I wasn't really thinking about it. I definitely should have cast it. But like, we're at 15 life, they have no cards in hand. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, if you want to be realistic, the best card for them to draw there is Meltdown, and you kind of get screwed.
And we draw Blood Moon. Blood Moon also great.
Yeah.
What could go wrong, Jarvis?
I think specifically Meltdown.
They don't have that. They would have cast it. There's no way they could draw it. Impossible. They just draw Hydra Blast, which is great.
And they topped a card?
Yeah.
That's really... like, how many cards can they...
You could have just topped, like, any cantrip, right? No, they topped Meltdown.
Bro, I just fucking called it, because look at this board. The way that they went through this board is literally Meltdown.
I fumbled this a little bit. I'm supposed to cast the dead first.
Yeah, but...
the DRC, because it takes them off of a card type. Doesn't end up mattering.
Oh god, you're...
For like 3 turns from now.
Looks like you're going to die, actually, now.
Would you believe me if I told you this game went on?
Oh, because their brainstorm locked, it takes a while to get out from under... Wow.
We do an exceptional job of not drawing land this game. I was so tilted.
Yeah.
It's fine. They couldn't possibly draw another Wasteland. They've already used 3. Oh, maybe I was 1 turn off on that.
Who can say? Oh, they probably brainstorm into it then.
DRC, like, we got Fury still. We're cooking. We're cooking less. Yeah, the DRC there just gets exiled to the Murktide, so it's fine.
Oh, this kind of works out for you, at least.
Yep. We draw Dead Gone, so we are still alive.
You're just 1 land away from greatness. How many? It's not even like that many lands are gone, right? Like,
yeah, we draw a comical amount of non-land. We have 1, 2, 3. Now we just get 4th Wastelanded. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands in the graveyard. 6, 7. So we have 14 lands left in the deck, and 1 Chrome Mox. So 15. Half our deck is lands.
Yeah.
We draw Spirit Guide, which is like the worst possible good card to draw.
Yeah, I mean, you still fire. I think waiting is not really sensible because they're at 5. Like, you ever get like 2 hits on them, then all of their fetches are off, you know?
Yeah, we just have to cast it.
This is a comical game. It usually does not look like this. Oh, and they're out of fetchables? Jesus.
Yes. They're fully out of fetchables. This is such a nonsensical game. Draw Unlicensed Hearse. Force a negation.
I wonder what they sided out versus you.
Well, you'll get to find that out within 3 cards, I think. I think I see 57 of their cards by the end.
Oh, weird.
Something like that. Something close to that, at least. So here's where I think I make a game losing.
I think you should have cast Fable.
Maybe. But I think I also should have cast Fury.
Oh, sure. That's also reasonable. I think casting Bombardiers there is probably exactly what I do not want to do.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Like, the likelihood of them having a so high at that point. They had cast only one lightning bolt up until that point.
Exactly, yeah. That's the
So
issue.
just like never living, so you just definitely want to play the Fable. We try again. That one's a little bit more defensible because, again, it is lethal if it gets to attack, but... And at this point, I give up. But we've taken an extra 3 damage from this Dragon Series Channeler.
Oh, wow, you really do see basically all of their deck, huh? Jesus. I guess this Seek the Beast might kill you. Or Questing Druid might kill you by this point. There's a 2-2. Oh, we found all the lands.
I think about like trying to play around days.
No. Also, I think you can just count one.
They haven't played a lot of days, but I think they boarded them. That was my instinct. Always blocking here because they ponder no shuffled with 3 cards left in their libraries.
Well, how many bolts are gone? 1, 2...
3 bolts are gone. Okay. They guarantee have the 3rd bolt. So we just have to loot away, try to find a blocker, and we don't. We find 4th land, can't cast a Fury, and we are dead to 4th lightning bolt.
I guess since they've basically seen their entire deck, you can deduce like probably what's in their hand. Yeah, I kind of think if you'd cast Fable that one turn you were supposed to, you would have been way better off and possibly are winning.
I agree. I also should have just, like, if I had just Furied the...
Yeah.
And then the Fable flips it can chump block, and then they just actually deck.
Sure.
It was a nonsense game, too, though. It was a lot of fun. Not a game that I was, like, very sad to lose.
That was a weird one. I don't think the matchup really looks like that very often.
Yeah.
It's a combination of them not having many win cons in their deck, and you getting meltdowned for basically all of your pressure.
They boarded out, like, a bunch of their... Like, they boarded out down to, like, 2 Murktide, I think, too. And, like... Which kind of makes sense in the face of, like, a bunch of hearses.
Well, also in the face of Blood Moon. I used to do that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And when a lot of...
But, like, without Delvers, though, they were just so threat-like.
Yeah. A lot of Moon Stompy opponents used to side in Leyline versus me, which was the other reason to do that, if that makes sense. Oh, they dazed you? Oh, and then they wasted you? Huh.
Which is not great.
But you drew a Mox.
We're a lot better at drawing mana than the last one. And we draw the 3rd land. Everything great. So I think I was pretty confident this player was on Scam, which is why I lead with Fable. I just like didn't want to get...
Sure.
Also, Fables just like makes your mana a bit better. If I get like another Wastelanded or whatever.
You know, a 2/2 Grief is not actually very terrifying.
Yeah. I instantly start sweating as soon as I draw this, because I don't love having Fury.
Yeah, that's a downside. Yeah.
Like, I looted away the Ancient Tomb into the Fury. If I didn't loot it, I could just play the Ancient Tomb, draw the Fury, but just like, this turn I'm just like, please don't reanimate Grief again. Please don't reanimate Grief again. Murktide, that's scary, but fine. I hem and haw over playing the Shattered Skull versus not. I do not. This whole turn, please don't reanimate Grief. Please don't reanimate Grief. Instead, they have nothing. But then this next turn, I have to continue going, please don't reanimate my Fury, please.
I mean, yeah, the problem is versus your deck, once there are good creatures in the graveyard, all reanimates are like super broken.
Yeah. Then they spend this turn casting like 100 cantrips, and sweat just pouring down my face. Just no reanimate, no reanimate, no reanimate, no reanimate. And then they don't have it, and then we draw the best possible.
Oh, now you're safe.
Yes.
Why didn't we hardcast Fury off the Shattered Skull last turn, Afraid of Days? Presumably, that's the reason, yeah.
And because I wanted to copy it to kill the 5/5 Merc. We had 5.
Yeah. The other reason was to kill Murktide as well, yeah.
Probably the more important reason.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's an argument for, like, playing the Shattered Skull at the previous turn, and then, like, if you draw another mana source, you can still do that. I wanted to keep the red card and draw another mana source. Or, like, if I drew, like, a Chalice or something I couldn't pitch, I needed a pitch card, so I could pitch plus Reflection. we
Spirit
draw
Guide.
a 2/2, which is great because now we can keep. We don't want to attack our reflection into Bowmaster.
Sure.
Grey
Pretty,
Ogre. Grey Ogre beating Raise the Alarm.
Yeah, this is why I'm okay with the card in Legacy. Like, I feel like if you're playing this type of deck, you're like, we don't care except for Fable, and it's pretty telegraphed. Plus, they always have to cast it first. Like, they don't just...
At this point, the game's just, like, over.
Yep.
Like, this game is not beating this hearse on board. We're just going to attack them with a 2/2 until they die.
You have so many 2/2s. B-Raj, you love Bowmaster? I think...
Well, I mean, based on his listed decks...
Oh, sure.
Makes sense.
Oh, Brainstormers have had it too good for too long.
True, I agree with that. Yeah,
I knew you would agree with that. I'm kind of ambivalent now. Like, literally ambivalent. I'll play it if it's in my deck, and I won't play it if it's not in my deck. I guess that's literally how it works. How did you sideboard? Trinisphere out. 2 Rabbles and 4 Fury out. Interesting. So this decreases...
Yeah.
This decreases your exposure to, I think, getting griefed, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't want your reanimation targets, really. We have the sneaky Spirit Guide Blast here.
You mean your own Force of Will?
Yeah, Force of Will, your Force of Will, and then the game ends because we played Hearse. I also love, like, very small thing to note, but, like, the addition of a lot of these decks play a small upgrade for Moon Stompy because it's, like, fetch them out like this.
Yeah. Instead of fetching a basic, is what you mean, right?
Yeah. Instead of fetching a basic, so then you just, like, this Maga sitting in my hand is much better than if they had just, like, fetched a basic island or a basic swamp or whatever.
It could be that their hand was just too bad and they had to fetch it.
Yeah, they might need a duel to cast, like, different spells.
They have 2? What the fuck? I think 2 is excessive, probably. But
yeah, 2 seemed a little extreme. But now I'm rubbing my hands together, looking at my City of Traders, and...
You mean trying to end the game and they been to days, so you're more likely to be safe? Wow.
I play around days anyway, because we draw a red card.
Okay. So it would have to be Force of Will.
Yeah. If they have Force of Will, they're still super dying those turns. Plus, like, this den.
The goat...
Get it.
The goat Newton is on 1 Bayou, 2 Underground Mortuary. Holy fuck.
Damn, just Jarvis with a casual flex of knowing.
Well, you know the reason I know that, right? I registered 2 of that card in my Yawgmoth deck for the Modern RC. It's not really much of a flex if I literally registered it in the last month, right?
That's fair. This was a good one, too. So chat, for those of you that don't know, always look up... because my opponent had nothing but the Epic Storm results.
So that means you should Chalice on 1, probably, right?
They were completely stone cold to Blood Moon.
Are they? Can't they, like, Lotus Petal into a win? Oh, never mind. Okay, never mind.
There was, like, a world where they could like, land, Burning Wish for Pulverize, but I didn't even...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you know that there are a test 1 trick,
also, then they played Urza Saga, so they're not just a test. Storm 1 trick.
Oh, but so they're probably playing, like, some variant.
Saga Storm deck would be my guess. But the Saga Storm deck doesn't always play Echo, so I wasn't 100% sure. But they got the job done anyway.
I mean, they're fucking dead as shit, because now you eat their Hearse or you eat their Echo with Hearse.
Yeah.
I mean, this matchup is literally just, okay, how good is my hand at stopping them from doing anything, I think.
And on the other side, it's how good is my hand at killing them.
Yeah.
As you will see in these next 2 games. This hand, pretty good at stopping them from doing their thing.
The problem is you're on their draw, like, so...
Correct. Dang. They take a long time on this Beseech Mirror, I think, which is, like, kind of reasonable. But they give me the out of top decking my 1 of Fiery Confluence for, like, over 2 turns.
Sure.
Love the individual clicks on every single goblin.
Do they know about right-click attack all?
And then we don't draw fairy goblins, so we die. The end. Fun, interactive Magic.
Lackey had a chalice on 4 today? Jesus.
Oh yeah, I saw him tweet about it.
I didn't see that yet. I'll pull it up after this.
And then we have the same hand as game 1. And we're on the play. Everything's fine.
So they're fucking dead.
I get a little bit punished here. I was like deciding between Spirit Guide, and I opted to pitch the Spirit Guide because pitch the Shadow Skull because I wanted to have, like, if I draw a land, I want to just cast this 2/2 and have more of a clock. And like if I draw a 3-drop, I can just cast it off the Simian Spirit Guide. It's like mostly fine. But if we draw like running 3-drops, it gets a little awkward, but works out.
Sure. I mean, you're killing them really fucking fast.
Yes, very, very minor thing, and I think if still pitch, I would still make the same decision, but wasn't 100% sure. But like, yeah, now we can't cast this like extra Blood Moon to like make sure that they're not going to be able to like untap and find an answer for this Magus and kill me or something. And then they don't have anything and they die.
Why is Aghanim's Awakening in their deck? I mean, I guess it is like technically something you put on Chrome Mox, but
yeah, if they have like Chrome Mox, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I saw a
Blood Moon.
I saw Yawgmoth's player proliferate an opponent's Chalice of the Void to 4 to stop Omnath in the ring. Oh, that's very funny. That I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but
extremely funny games against Stormward every single game. What were they on? Did I know? This was like round 6, so like a lot of the opponents are. Oh, I didn't actually know what this person was on. Oh, so this is round 7. This is the last round, I think, right?
Yep. Your hand's like fine. You really hope you draw Chrome Mox or
like that.
Or Simian Spirit Guide would also have been very good, obviously.
Good job, Jarvis. We draw the best card. So I actually thought about this, and I'm not 100% confident on leading Trinisphere versus leading Magus here. My read on Tropical Go was probably Beans, either 4-color or Bug. But like Trinisphere is the better force bait, but also if the Trinisphere playing out spell up, so like maybe I just wanted to play out the Magus first. I wasn't 100. I think going back on it, I would have played. But it ends up not mattering because they don't have the force and then get super punished. But I think I was supposed to play Magus there. My audio is apparently cutting out more, Jarvis.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
I'll get really close to the mic, chat. Does that help my noise gate not cut off as much? I have no idea.
I have an idea. Or Google claims that if you put your Discord on a second monitor, it's more likely to crack. But that sounds like nonsense, actually.
That's weird.
But we'll try it, anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, my opponent didn't have anything, and they died. It's also, at this point, notable that I completely thought that my opponent was on color B. I had no evidence of that, but like I think their last result was like just a normal like 4-color Beans deck that did notably like have Wasteland. So I boarded a little bit improperly against Bug Beans. I would never board out the hearses, but it's like pretty minor stuff.
If I put DNS solver into the Discord comments of XJCloud, the audio is less likely to cut out. I guess
I think they're right.
Huh. I'll get right on that.
My opponent Sorcerer's Speed Fatal Pushes for some reason, which is kind of nice, because you can sometimes make decisions based on, like, oh, Goblin token's going to attack or not. Doesn't really end up mattering here, because we ditch 2 lands and then draw 2 lands.
I feel like these Dens might kill them, though.
Yeah, Den's a good one to draw. I mean, this deck with, like, Witherbloom, good at answer, but Witherbloom Command plus Wasteland, I mean. Also, this is, like, the worst Scarab Storm of all time. They milled exactly 1 land to get back, but, like, I was reading Hydroblast here, so I don't just immediately play Scarab Swarm to play around Murktide Regent. It's like also not the end of the world if they counter this and then had me because we still have this dead gun in our pocket. This Scarestorm's also like notably pretty reasonable with the reflections. Like not great, but it does get to Tormund script them repeatedly. But then they have Bowmaster. And now what do? We draw Bomba. This is like the worst Bomba reflections in the world.
Do you still cast it, or do you cast Magus? No, I guess you still cast it. Yeah.
My thought is still playing around like a removal spell. Like at this point, they need to like Hydroblast the roof.
Sure. So they should double there, yeah, and then
yeah, it's just like the least exciting double Bomba, but it's like still pretty good. Still just like kills all their stuff, and it threatens next turn. So now they really need to cast if they have them, and they do. They don't. They murder Sky. Yes. Now they're fully tapped out, and I can finally sign this. I also fuck up here. I'm supposed to float mana off the Ancient.
And then channel Sekenzen, yeah.
I'm usually pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason there, I just totally blanked on it. I think I was thinking about, like, Gawning the Leovold after I Blood Moon them or something. And then just decide not to. They immediately draw the island, too. Or maybe they had it. I don't actually know. But luckily, the island doesn't actually do a lot for them.
Yeah.
I can cast cantrips to try to desperately dig for Hydroblast. We are at 9 from a lot of Ancient Tomb tabs, but we are very much winning this race.
I think it doesn't matter because they can't cast anything that actually really deals you damage out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not like afraid of any like hidden sneaky burst damage.
Nope.
And also we're just gonna race them down. Bomba kills pretty quick. I do math here, and I think I'm 1 off lethal if I sack the Spirit, right? They go to 10, and then I attack for 1, 5 down to 5. Oh no, then I can sack the Magus and kill them. I should have.
Yeah, I think it looked like you were supposed to do it to me.
My math was sacking the hearse. In the moment, I was like, oh, sack the hearse. I put them to 1.
Sure. I think ultimately it doesn't matter that much because they can't really do anything, right?
Yes. And then we also draw the Chalice, which is really good. Turn off the Hydroblast out. We just throw the hearse, the Leovold, play the path, kill them.
I feel like this matchup should generally be pretty good for you.
Yeah, I've felt that it's really good. I've never felt in favor versus Bug Beast as an agent. But like Moon Stompy especially, just a lot of good cards.
Alright.
And then we're in the top 8 at 6-1.
Hooray. Let's see what match 8 brings us.
Match 8 is a rematch against one loss.
Sure. So now you know. So now you know what kind of hand you're looking for.
Yeah. Now I know. And then I proceed to keep the worst hand I've kept all good day.
Oh, well. Sometimes that happens, I guess.
Yeah.
I could not mulligan. I could not mulligan this hand faster, honestly.
But think about how good of a mold of 5 it is. It's not even that good. It's a good mold of 5. But
I mean, sure, but
I think a random 6. So for it,
I think the London mulligan's just kind of broken. That's like the real reality. Yeah. Like, why did we keep this hand?
Don't keep those hands at home, kids. We continue to draw pretty good cards on. And they have the same sort of hand that they did in the Swiss, though.
This time it's easier for them to have it because they know to like look for it, right?
Yeah, they know what. I mean, they probably knew what I was on, as much as I knew what they were on. And we have Chalice, which, oh no, the Chalice resolves it. Does it? Maybe it gets forced.
I mean, it might resolve and you get Murktided. That seems pretty darn likely.
Also true. Yeah, I think that's what happens.
That's like a really common thing to happen in this matchup. Or sometimes I just let it resolve and just throw my spells into it and then cast my Murktide.
And then I think my out here is draw Bomber.
Yeah, but I don't like it. It's not fast enough, right?
Oh, it kills the Murktide. You throw a Chrome Mox at it, then you throw the other. But they showed me Mystic. Did they show me Mystic Sanctuary? I think they did.
It was surveilled away.
Oh, okay. I mean, my out was like a 4-outer into a 3-outer, back to back, And then we didn't draw it, so we died.
Yeah, basically I think you lost when you kept that hand, if I had to guess.
Yeah, don't keep those hands. Not good.
I would only keep that hand if I knew my opponent was literally dead to Chalice of the Void.
Hey, I mean, they're like kind of dead to Chalice. Sometimes they force them.
Yeah, I guess. This hand, on the other hand, is pretty good, I think.
Yeah, this hand's much better. Thinking about it, I might have wanted to pitch the Fury, the Shatter Skull.
I was thinking about that, and it kind of looks right to me to pitch the the Fury.
I wasn't thinking about it until after when I was rewatching, but with the city specifically, I think pitching the Shatter Skull or pitching the Fury would have been nicer. Because then this turn you can just Shatter Skull the Dragon's Rage Channeler for 1 instead of having to like use your Murktide answer on it. Because I end up like with the H2, I end up like killing the city anyway, so I could have just done that around days.
Oh, they don't have a land.
So at this point, I would have a Dead Gone in my hand instead of a Fury, right?
Yeah, I guess the Fury is better here, unless they have literal.
It happens to be better because I draw the 5th land. But like I would have just Dead Gone bounced it, which is similar with the Chalice, and then they would. So it doesn't end up mattering. But I think I would have preferred the pitching the Fury to the Chromox line. Looking back on it.
Yeah, it's close, and we need to draw something. Whoa, that's a good one.
Should have cast the Dead Gun upkeep before they draw off Bauble. I didn't know I was going to cast the Dead. I could have drawn something that makes me not want to cast the Dead Gun.
Right.
And we rip Second Fury.
I mean, I'm obviously casting it here. They probably have like a Hydro in their hand that they can't cast. You know.
Yeah, and like a Murktide that they can't cast because they're praying to find the second land. And they don't, kind of. I also wasn't sure, and then we draw Best Possible. I wasn't sure if I'm supposed to induce the Wasteland activation.
I don't think you are because of the 2 damage.
I was a little concerned. So we only saw 1 Borrower in like our previous match, and it's currently exiled to the Forcible, so I don't think they have an out. But like, I didn't want them to be able to like, I don't know, cast like keep the land around because I don't activate, and then cast a Meltdown for 1 around the Chalice or something. But like they didn't have it, or they would have cast it that turn.
I think the problem with that logic is if they're really scared of your Den, they could just waste it on their turn anyways. So you doing it for them just donates 2 damage, right?
But they don't need to Wasteland it until I activate. I don't activate.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So you're basically trading 2 damage on your land for their land.
Yeah. Which is maybe not great because it put me at exact like 8 life Murktide lethal, but
I think I kind of hate it actually, but you know, I think I would have not done that myself. I think is what I'm saying. Oh, is this Den going to kill them? That would be pretty funny.
Yes, because they have Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2. We have a lethal Den of the Bugbear. And then they die.
That was
like a really close game.
I mean, Ancient Tomb's not free. It's the reality.
Yes.
People are just like, "Oh, Ancient Tomb's free." I'm like, "No, it actually isn't." Pretty often.
2 mana. 2 mana, 1 land. What could go wrong?
You deal yourself 10 damage and die.
And very good.
Yep. Damn, your hands get better when you mulligan? It's so fucking weird. Actually, this time you didn't have to mulligan. Your hand was just better.
I was deciding between pitching a Fury and pitching a Blood.
Right.
So it's really easy. And then the Blood Moon just resolves, which is wild. We just draw this Shatter Skull. We just not even use a Fury. Everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
They do hit like Best Possible off of this Seek the Beast, Meltdown Mishra's Bubble. I guess Best Possible would have been based plus like Hydroblast, but
right,
like Meltdown Mishra's Bubble was kind of. But I figure I'm very ahead here.
I don't think they can kill you very fast. It's like really hard for them to kill you.
I mean, they're on like literal. I guess they have like DRCs and Basic Island are like their only live draw at this point. And now DRC doesn't really do a lot because I have hers.
Yeah, I don't think you're dying to a 1-mana 1/1 anytime soon.
With 3 Furies in my hand.
Yeah.
Cast second Blood Moon for insurance in case they find Basic Island plus the Brazen Borrower.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fine for Ancient Tomb to deal you 2 damage, Lackey. I don't know, like... Until they print, like, Ancient Tomb 2.0 and, like, MH7. Oh, did they bolt at the wrong time? They're supposed to, like, not let you attack.
Yeah, but, like, I'm not going to sack anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sack my hearse to deal them 4.
This game is dumb in a different way. They can't possibly win, but it will just take a long time to kill them.
There's, like, a world where I'm supposed to, like,
No, I don't think so.
Wait till I draw. Like, if I had a bad red card, I would just, like, I'll just wait. I have this red Elemental Blast in my hand. I have 2 more.
That hearse was a 9/9? Jesus. I forgot how big hearse gets.
Hearse just punches people.
Alright. Getting through. Ooh, Mats! Friend of the stream, Mats Ole. Very skilled wizard who I think he just came back to playing Magic again.
Very skilled wizard that makes me mulligan to fuck. I thought about keeping this hand. I wasn't sure. So I know he's on Cradle.
Oh, you knew he was on Cradle? This hand's not fantastic versus Cradle, so I probably would mulligan as well.
You have like, so many good cards in your deck versus Cradle.
Sure.
And we don't find anything. And we go to 5 and we continue to not find anything, but like I'm not going to go 4.
Was there any consideration to just binning the Mox, actually, now that you're on 5 cards?
There was, but like the rest of those cards were also bad.
Sure.
I wanted to like be potentially able to like try to cheese something with like Magus the Moon plus a removal spell. But like,
so we're playing Magus, I guess. Yeah. And hoping it works out. But the problem is they have like, Reclaimer plus Hierarch, so it doesn't work most of the time, right?
Yeah. We need to like immediately draw Bombardiers, and then instead he has Green Sun for Grist. Yeah.
And Grist.
Yeah, the game's over.
Yeah. I mean, like, it...
Oh. The game plays out for, like, 2 or 3 more turns. I think about, like, casting Shatter Skull for 1, and then attacking the Grist for 2, but, like, that's not winning.
No, yeah, I mean, you're mostly dead, but that's fine, like...
Yeah. I hold on to the Shatter Skull specifically for Fury. Like, I have a window right here where if we top deck Fury, we could potentially, like, crew the hearse and attack the quest or the Grist. It doesn't work out here because he casts like 400 more spells, but
also you got oof to like actually KO you, which is actually pretty smart here.
There's actually still a window. If we top deck Fury, we actually get to kill all the untapped creatures, crew hearse, kill Grist, and then like have a hearse back, and plus these 2 dens. I actually had a window to win that game. A Fury top deck there.
It had to be that turn, right?
Yeah, it had to be exactly that turn. And then we don't try anything. We die. He casts Endurance, has 100 power in play.
But I assume... I'm not sure, but I assume you should side out all of your Chalice of the Voids in this matchup. Oh, yes. you do in fact do that, yeah.
It's weird because Hearse is like kind of okay again, honestly. He's like the deck is so... We just have so many better cards to play.
I think every removal spell is better than an Unlicensed Hearse, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that I think I leave in 1 hearse.
I think there's a chance you should just cut Rebel Master versus them, actually.
Yeah, Rebel Master, but it kills them. It pairs with Bombardier.
Yeah.
Stuff.
The issue I have with Rebel Master specifically in other creature matchups is it kind of... It doesn't really get its full power, right?
Yeah, it gets blocked a lot. Yeah. I'll definitely shave it in matchups.
Sure.
And then, like, right here, it's just like, well, he doesn't have Snuff Out, which is great. We just get to murder his board every turn.
The Mortuary is back.
This will be a position where I would rather have a hearse than this second Rabble, but also...
Yeah, well,
so.
Also you're attacking for 1,000 damage, so they're actually dead, right?
Yeah, he just concedes there.
I think it's okay to be exposed a little bit more to oof when the alternative is having Rabble Master. I think maybe especially in the draw, I would just cut all of them from my deck for hearses.
Yeah, I could maybe see that.
It might just be a play draw thing, you know.
Rabble Master will look a lot worse.
Well,
so I hem and haw on this hand, and then yeah.
Well, this hand's pretty good if you draw a soul land, at least. But yes. I guess it was the first hand. I guess we can back up a little bit and go back to it.
Yeah, we could rewind to the first hand. Just like the hand's just like not good enough. If the Bombardier could activate too, I think it would do something. But like the thing that's really scary in this matchup is just order and kill you.
Yeah, so you have no early removal.
Stable on the draw, and then turn 3 Bombardier. It'd probably be like turn, yes, but Forest, and then also like get played a Mana Dork. So like this Magus isn't like actually doing anything. I just think this hand's too slow versus most of their draws.
Yep, I could see it. I would be inclined to mulligan. Also, your mana is just kind of slow. Is the real issue. Like, if one of the smashing was a Chrome Mox, this hand is a Snapkeep, obviously.
Oh yeah, this hand's like nuts with fast mana. But...
Yeah. I mean, you have one piece of fast mana, but you can get more, you know?
Yeah. This deck also just has a ton of removal in it, like faster removal.
Whereas this hand's, like, pretty insane for a 6-card hand, obviously.
Yeah.
I just think any hand with Fury is just so much better versus them than...
Yeah. Then we draw Soul Land. Look at that.
I mean, there are 8 in your deck, and 4 Chrome Oxen, right? So that's actually a lot of outs in general when you're looking for that sort of thing.
So this turn, I would be curious to hear what Matt Soul's plan was, because I expected him to fetch basic 4 trader.
Well, I'll tell you what, his plan was not to get Furied, I think.
Yeah.
So he had the Force in his hand, right?
He had. Oh, maybe does the deck only play 1 basic?
No, but if he had a Force in his hand, why would he fetch it, right?
You maybe don't need the second one.
Yeah.
Like, you want to like cast Natural Order, right?
I don't know. I don't know how many Force are in the deck anymore.
This game, I found like most of the games against New. Yeah, there's the second basic Forest. Revolve around like not letting your opponent get to Natural Order mana. There's exactly that previous turn. I guess we kind of scrolled through it, but that previous turn where he just passes with 4 mana.
Yeah, you were exposed to an Atraxa, obviously. If you got Atraxa, the game was basically over on the spot, I think.
Yeah, and you'll see I even just like I suicide attacked my Mac.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
because like he had 2 basic forests in play by then. And
sure.
It's like I don't need this Magus anymore. If he blocks, then. But hey, he didn't take the bait like a smart Magic player, but then luckily he didn't.
Oh. So another rematch, huh?
Yeah, 2 rematches in the top 8 was really fun.
So that's why your tiebreakers were so good as well, but not that it actually matters.
Yeah, I was pretty confident that even with a loss, like,
yeah,
if I had lost my last round because my breakers were.
Yep. Instead, you made it easy.
It's hand, and then my opponent casts 1 spawn time, finds Wasteland. I'm begging them to Wasteland.
I think they're probably supposed to.
You really have to there, but like just max. I have the max punish.
I mean, you're gonna win easily because you have a Fable plus 3 mana. They have 0 mana, and they can't cast anything for like 2 more turns.
They can't cast anything for 2 turns, and we have Bombardiers. I think loot the Sokenza into anything. I want to keep the Chalice. Like they will have a chance to cast a Sword Splashers before they're literally dead, or like potentially like crop rotation if they have like Yavimaya into stage, like 3 mana crop rotation. I don't know. They're just dead.
I think I might have pitched the Chalice, but it doesn't matter that much.
You could probably loot away the Chalice, but because they're just never in this game.
Rude second two. It is kind of rude, honestly, but
it was really rude.
Sometimes you just have easy matches as Moon Stompy. I think that's actually a feature, not a bug at the deck. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Who the fuck wants to work for every single win? It's so painful.
You just get to free roll them.
Oh, this hand's pretty good too.
It's a little awkward because.
Well, like, I think the Scarab Swarm's really good versus them actually, but
yes, that's one thing I've really liked about Scarab Swarm is like Mirror Age redundancy a little bit. it's a little awkward. You just never want to play Maggot.
Sure.
They just like float white, crop rotation into depths. Just pile your thing, you die instantly. So just like put a thing into play, start some pressure if they have a removal spell.
Yeah, then you get to do the thing.
Yeah, then you get to try, or at least like we can get the Scarab Swarm down first or something.
Okay, so now the issue is even if you Magus,
I was like 100% sure they were just gonna cast
crop rotation kill you.
Crop rotation, yeah, crop rotation. So you just have to cast Scarab Swarm, which is kind of awkward because you only get 3 guys. But I didn't do the math, but I think you can race with like 3 blockers, assuming they have nothing.
Well, the Scarab Swarm's plus 6 damage off of Fling, right? That's so much. It kind of looks like they're just flooded, right?
Yeah, they also just didn't cast crop rotation. Looks like they just kept the 1 crop rotation for half the combo plus like the. Now I did remember to float the Soul Ant mana. They're just like literally dead.
Scarab Swarm. Oh, you kept 1 back just in case if something went horribly awry.
Yeah, goes horrible. I think I'm supposed to keep 2 back because they ended up but.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered.
I don't think it mattered because they needed to kill the Magus and.
Yeah.
Don't even think it was possible, but.
Kind of wonder why it's disconnecting so much. I don't know. I'll figure it out some other time.
Or Violent Scarab Swarm or Hardcast with 2 Soul. I think D&T's a much better. Well, I think Scarab Swarm's a really good card in general.
Well, D&T has to be a better Scarab Swarm deck because it has Wasteland, so you can induce like lands into the graveyard as well.
Yeah, and your own fetch lands and like all the color splash builds. It's much nicer. Like I've targeted myself with a lot of Scarabs in D&T. But it's just a good enough card that I think it's like pretty reasonable to play in Moon Stompy. Just like good versus Delver, good versus Beans, good versus Meryl Age decks, good versus decent versus some graveyard decks, depending on the brand. Really good versus like 8 cast, just random artifact decks that throw a bunch of trinkets in the yard.
Well, anyways, I guess that's how you win a challenge. You just play Moon Stompy, and sometimes even if you have a bad hand, it sometimes works out, and sometimes you get punished, and then you win the match, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you keep a really bad hand at top.
Sure. Yeah. It's. I really thought you were just going to instantly mulligan, and then we kept it. I'm just like, this hand is like.
I really tunneled on the like, ooh.
Yeah.
How will they possibly beat the second one? But like, it's a really. I don't know what they're doing. Mulligan.
Yeah.
Cast better spells.
All right. Well, I guess that's about it because there's not really much else to talk about with regards to this deck. For full disclosure, I will probably play next Sunday. I won't play Saturday. I won't play Vintage on Saturday because I'm actually busy. But that's why I'll probably play Sunday. I probably won't register Moon Stompy, but I'm also not very likely to register Beanstalk, I think. Which is kind of funny to say, I guess. Because I don't think that deck is actually that good for Scamnator, which is a huge problem.
What are your vibes? Do you want to give the chat any insights?
I might Scamnator, but the real problem I have is I think the Scamnator mirrors are pretty horrible in game 1.
Yeah, that sounds pretty heinous.
Well, also like there's also the secret way you lose, which is you grief them and you see a Traxon, you take in cast Reanimate, and it's like it's kind of it's super unpleasant. I think. I don't know. I guess I could like theoretically trick myself into playing lands or depths again. I kind of think they're not as good as you think they are, but I think I'm also more inclined to believe that they're not good. Because
I'm not a depths player. I'm not a lands player. I don't actually know, but I also think that those decks are probably side metagame forces, teching specifically just for like the scam deck that's so popular. You do still have to be cognizant of like the rest of the format, and I think like the depths decks are probably going to suffer a lot versus beat still.
Well, one thing I liked about the Beanstalk deck I played is I think I annihilate every depths and lands player, but I also really understand how to play that matchup as well from both sides, which I think helps a lot. Question from Isolated System. Goblins versus Moon Stompy, what's better in the current meta? Well, if you're talking just the heads up, Muxus is generally good versus Moon Stompy, but I think in general, there might be a lot of reasons to play Moon Stompy instead now, frankly.
Yeah. I think the scam matchup in particular. I think Moon Stompy's better when you just want to, like, smash your opponent really fast. Like, and in a lot more uninteractive metas, like when Ancient was really big, Muxus was like the best Ancient mirror. But now that the format's like gotten a lot more interactive, stuff like Scam, Goblins is like a much more synergy driven deck where Moon Stompy just has a lot of individual, can be broken up a lot more easily with like Delver tools like Daze and Wastelands and like Grief Scams.
And also, if people are literally sideboarding in Doorkeeper, Thralls, and Torpor Orbs, I have questions about if you actually want to play Goblins. What do you think about literal Delver right now with... So, I want to point this out. I actually think the way Grixis is currently built, and Temur, I think they're like 45% win rate Delver decks, which means I have basically no interest in playing them. Because, like, why would you want to do that to yourself? You don't have an edge over anyone, I think. Like, I mean, that's my personal opinion. Obviously, like, people will still play the deck, and, like, someone will top 8, but I think that's in spite of their deck choice, not because of their deck choice, is my suspicion.
Sounds about right.
Well, I kind of think the Beanstalk deck I built also should just... It destroys that type of deck, because it's just, like... You have 8 plows, and you have Solitude, and if you ever land a Beanstalk, even like a Bowmaster is not enough for them to... Like, the way I envision losing to the Delver deck is actually getting Wastelanded like 3 times. Not like normal games of Magic. Which is why like the Leyline of the Guild Pact plus basic land thing is very appealing versus them as well. I suspect that a lot of people don't understand how to play that matchup. They should be killing that Leyline way more often than they do, I think. Oh, so free tip. If you can kill Leyline of the Guild Pact versus that deck, you probably should. Just like, however you can.
It has also been kind of weird. I just feel like people haven't been really given its due credit. Like, I just haven't really seen it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care. If people decide not to play it, that's their prerogative. I think it's pretty strong, but I will also admit that I'm not sure the sideboard's quite correct, but I feel like someone else can figure that out. You know. I was definitely overtuned for certain parts of the metagame. Like, I was overtuned for Death and Taxes and Muxus with the sideboard I had, which is probably not something I would want to do for next Sunday. I probably would overtune for Scaminator more, and probably just like shave on the other cards that are good versus Death and Taxes and Muxus. Yeah, that's probably what I would end up doing if I were to play that deck. Oh, also, we got a huge donation from Welton, who I believe is one of my college buddies. Shout out to Welton, $501. That's a lot. He's the leader now.
Sheesh. So Oscar Pod, are the reasons with D&T at the moment? I think it's not like super exciting. I top 4'd the like Winnipeg, but notably that was like that was like right at the start of the rise of the scam deck, because I did lose to the scam deck in the semifinals. But especially if you're playing in paper, pre-war Formalware I think is powerful upgrade to the deck that is annoying that we're not going to get it on Moto for the conceivable future.
They basically guaranteed it, I think, from the wording I saw, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there's no way it's harder to get through the logistic bullshit than it was with like Games Workshop or whatever they're called, right? Everyone complained about how horribly litigious the 40k people were. But, like, I don't know. WotC just needs to stop fucking up with, like, getting this stuff allowed on Moto.
So, my suspicion, this is unrelated, I think those contracts were negotiated for so long ago that we're finally seeing the result of the negotiations. And I guess they're going to learn better now, but it's kind of too late to renegotiate those ones, right? Like this was probably in the works like 1.5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Well,
like, you know what else happened 1.5 years ago was the 40k cards getting printed, and then them just not being on Moto. And we complained about them for 1.5 years. So, like...
I see, yeah.
One of these Universes Beyond sets coming up has to be like okay, we figured it out, we got promise.
Yeah. Well, they will eventually make in-universe versions, but it could be years. But I thought they weren't allowed to.
That was for that might have been just for games, because I know specifically for the 40k cards they weren't allowed to like even like print. They had to sell the decks only. They weren't different.
Which is why after these decks go off sale, those cards are gonna like slowly creep in price over like 1 to 2 years and be like kind of outrageous. I'm actually considering just buying a bunch more and like sitting on them, like a crazy person. But
that's what I've been considering too. Like honestly, convert my challenge winnings into Triumph of St. Catherine's and Scarab Swarms and Molochs.
Sorry, what's the name of that card?
No, Triumph of St. Katie. Sorry,
I just had to give you shit on Katie's behalf.
I didn't see Katie in the latter half of chat. I don't know if she's still here.
Fair enough. Okay, well, good review. Next time, chat, I'll try to make the audio better. I don't know why it cuts in and out. This is probably some Discord bug. I have to, like, Google and fix it, you know. But it wasn't just you, because the last time I had Hane on a few weeks ago, it also had that same issue. I just thought it might have been, like, an internet latency thing, but it appears to not be just internet latency.
Weird.
Alright, well, again, thanks, everyone. Is there anything you want to plug on the way out?
Watch The Owl House. I haven't plugged that one in a while.
Don't you think anyone who is likely to watch it has watched it by now?
Yeah, and everyone who knows who I am at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else to plug. Donate. What is it? Is it exclamation point donate in the chat?
Yeah. I made it simpler this time.
Alright. Exclamation point donate in the chat. Jarvis is raising money for a good cause.
Yep. Oh.
No, I donated some earlier to make him draft Zerda, and then you guys drafted Zerda.
We 3-0'd with that deck, which was the funny part. And Hane was insistent that we were not allowed to put Brazen Bar into the deck. We just had to pretend there was Zerda.
I would have absolutely... Once there was confirmed no Zerda, I was just like, you guys could just play without, but, like, respect. Massive respect to Hane.
Yeah, I kind of, like, didn't play the best at times, because playing the... So, Hane is so good that he can draft, like, goofy shit like that and probably, like, play it, like, to 99%. It's a little bit harder for me at certain points if I'm streaming. By myself, I'm probably okay to just, like, play that, like, nonsense by myself. But when you're talking to Hane and looking at the chat, it becomes a lot harder. Like, your attention is just diverted. Also, shout out to fellow Pro Tour testing team member Jason ILTG in the house. What's up, Jason? They also say Owl House, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Fellow Owl House appreciator. You're teaming with good people.
Yeah. It's nice. We'll hopefully... I'm the villain on that team for sure. Everyone else is trying to brew, like, wacky nonsense. I'm like, yo, I'm here with stock Demir, stock Domain. I'm ready to battle all y'all.
I mean, it's good to have at least one person on the team that keeps people in line.
Yeah.
It's easy for people to get lost in the sauce.
Yeah. Also, one of my old teammates, way back when, this was the Swiss Bowl days, his MTGO name was Obvious Villain. So now I've become the Obvious Villain. Obvious Villain is a really, really good username, honestly.
That's a banger.
Alright. I think Caleb is streaming. Ooh, Cheon is back. Paul Cheon has returned because he got fired from WotC. Hashtag capitalism sucks. I always liked Cheon. How about you?
I didn't watch... I watched Magic streams, like, right at the of the Cheon era. I wasn't, like, big into Magic Twitch culture during that time.
Reasonable. Yeah, I probably won't be back tomorrow. Actually, like this week is kind of weird because Bob is like having a bunch of people in out of town for like makeup wedding stuff. So I might just go to his house a bunch instead of streaming. But I might sneak one in on like Saturday morning or something. All right, I guess we'll raid Chi on the way out. It sounds like you weren't against it.
Yeah, no, Chi. I liked Chi on streams. I just like didn't watch during the majority of his streaming career.